My inherited easement route. Locked gate blocked me at sunrise, metal clinking, fog, low boots halted at the chain-link fence, temporary restriction sign posted beside the gravel track entrance today. An HOA representative at the community bulletin board posted the fence and served access limits as procedure clipboard, out voice calling it community safety without explanation to residents watching nearby. The original easement survey was visible on my hood, creased paper, showing the route behind the lots to the county road clearly. This crossed a line. Finally, someone fought back. The first thing I hear is the fence. Metal clinks, metal fresh posts, biting into hard ground, like somebody is sealing off a memory before I can even finish my coffee. Morning fog sits low over the pasture edge, softening everything except the new sign zip-tied to the chain link temporary restriction, HOA access control. I stop at the fence line, where the gravel track begins my track, the easement route that cuts behind the lots and connects to the county service road. It's the same line my father walked in work boots and a sun-bleached cap, carrying a rolled-up survey like it was scripture. Lines outlive people, he used to say, tapping the paper with a knuckle. You keep the line clean, son. You don't let anyone redraw it because they feel like it. A white SUV idles on the other side of the fence. Two neighbors stand farther back near the community bulletin board, pretending they're just out for a walk, but their shoulders stay turned toward me. The SUV door opens. A man in a polo steps out, HOA logo stitched over his chest, clipboard in hand, the posture of someone who has never had to ask twice. Morning, he calls like we're meeting at a barbecue and not at a barricade. What is this? I point at the sign. This route is an easement. He doesn't look at the route. He looks at the clipboard. Association has instituted a temporary restriction pending review. Pending review of what community safety, he says too quick, like the phrase is printed on the inside of his eyelids. Safety, from who I sweep a hand at the fog, the quiet, the empty stretch of gravel. From me walking on a recorded line, he gives a tight smile. Sir, I'm just here to communicate procedure. Procedure doesn't overwrite a deed. It's not a deed, he corrects, and his tone sharpens. It's an access route. It's an easement route, I fire back. Inherited. Recorded. It was here before this HOA existed. He flips a page on the clipboard as if my words can be filed away and ignored. The board has concerns regarding unauthorized traffic. Unauthorized? I let out a short laugh that tastes like rust. It's my access. Sir, who voted to do this? He lifts his chin toward the clubhouse roofline. The board. The way he says it makes the HOA feel like a single thing, faceless, heavy, and certain. I stare at the new padlock threaded through the chain. It gleams like somebody wants it seen. You're telling me, I say slowly, that a group of people who moved in 5 minutes ago decided the route my father left me is now negotiable. I'm telling you, there's a process. He shifts his weight. If you'd like to appeal. Appeal to the people who blocked it. I step closer enough that he finally looks up. How about you show me the authority to put that fence on a recorded easement? He exhales through his nose. We've provided notice. I didn't get any notice. He tilts his clipboard toward the sign. It's posted. That's not notice, I snap. That's theater. One of the neighbors clears his throat softly, then stops when I glance his way. The other turns his face aside like the fog is suddenly fascinating. The HOA rep taps the clipboard with his pen. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm presses on my nerves. Sir, he says, I'm not here to debate. I'm here to inform you the route is temporarily restricted until the board completes review. And until then, I do what I ask. I drive through someone's backyard. I ask permission to reach my own side gate. He raises his hands, palms out. Please don't make this confrontational. I look at the fence again. The sign. The padlock. The fresh tire marks where the SUV rolled up easy on ground. I've been careful not to rut. My jaw tightens. Confrontational, I echo. You put a fence across a recorded route, and you want to talk about tone. His smile thins. If you choose to violate the restriction, the association will proceed accordingly. Accordingly, how? He doesn't answer that. He just watches me like I'm the problem that showed up late to his schedule. I reach into my truck and pull out the worn tube that lives behind the seat. The cap squeaks when I twist it. The paper inside is thick and old, creased at the folds, the kind of document that has survived storms and glove boxes and time. When I roll it open on the hood, the breeze tries to lift the corners. I press them down with my palm. The ink lines are cleaner than anything the HOA has ever printed. Surveyor marks, bearings, distances, and right there, plain as day, the easement route drawn like a promise. The HOA rep leans in just enough to pretend interest. What is that? I look up at him. Original easement survey. He scans it, then straightens like the paper offended him. That document is outdated. I don't even blink. It's recorded. He opens his mouth, closes it, and consults the clipboard like it might save him from ink and truth. Sir, documents get updated. Communities evolve. This isn't a yoga class, I say. You don't evolve a recorded line because it's inconvenient. His face tightens. The association has counsel. Then counsel can read, I shoot back. Or do you all just print new rules and call it law? For a second, his eyes flicker, annoyance, uncertainty, something beneath the polish. Then the clipboard comes up like a shield. I'll note you've been informed, he says. Further communication will be in writing. I'd love that I answer, and my voice comes out colder than I intend. Send me something I can hold. He nods once, stiff, and walks back to the SUV. The engine note rises, then fades as he rolls away, leaving the fence and the fog and the two neighbors, who suddenly remember they have places to be. I stand there with the survey in my hands, the paper steady now, like it's waiting. Recorded beats loud, my father would have said if he were here to see it. I roll the survey back up and slide it into the tube. The padlock on the fence catches the early light again, bright, smug, temporary, in the way only a bully thinks temporary means forever. When I turn toward the house, my mailbox flag is up. I wasn't expecting anything. The envelope inside is thick, official. My name typed in block letters. A green and white label on the corner reads, Certified Mail. I hold it for a moment, feeling the weight of it, and the quiet presses in around me like the HOA is already standing in my kitchen. Then I tear it open. The word temporary is printed so bold it almost dents the paper. I stand at the kitchen counter under the single light above the sink, the house quiet enough that I can hear the refrigerator cycle on and off. The envelope is still open on the table. Certified. Official. Confident. Like the HOA expects the font alone to do the work. Temporary restriction access route under review. Temporary. Like a bruise that never quite heals if you keep pressing it. I read it twice, then a third time slower. No citation, no reference number, no map attached. Just words stacked neatly on letterhead, ending with a line that says, The association appreciates my cooperation. I don't cooperate with guesses, I mutter. I lay the letter flat and smooth it with my palm. The paper smells new, like toner and air conditioning. Nothing about it knows the route it's talking about. Nothing about it knows my father. My phone buzzes on the counter. A text from a neighbor I barely know. Saw the fence. HOA thing I don't answer. Instead, I turn the letter over looking for something, anything that explains how a recorded easement turns into a review item. There's nothing. Just the word temporary doing all the heavy lifting. I grab my phone and scroll until I find the HOA contact number listed on the bulletin board app. I tap it before I can talk myself out of it. It rings twice. Willow Creek Estates Association. A woman answers. Her voice is crisp, practiced. This is Administrative Services. Hi, I say. I'm calling about the restriction notice on my easement route. There's a pause. Keyboard clicks. Address I give it. Ah, she says. Yes. That matter is under board review. I read the letter, I reply. What's the legal basis? Another pause, shorter this time. The association has authority to manage common concerns. The route isn't common, I say. It's a recorded easement. Inherited. I understand your concern, she says, and the way she says understand tells me she doesn't. The restriction is temporary. Temporary based on what community safety? I feel my jaw tighten. That's not an answer. Which bylaw, sir? Which covenant I cut in allows you to block a recorded easement? The keyboard stops. When she speaks again, her voice has cooled. All formal inquiries should be submitted in writing. You already wrote to me, I say. I'm asking what you relied on. The board will communicate its findings when the review concludes. When is that? I don't have that information. Then send me the easement language you're using, I say. The part that gives you authority. Silence. Hello, I ask. I'm still here, she says. I'm just not authorized to provide legal interpretation. I didn't ask for interpretation, I say. I asked for the language. Another pause. Longer. I imagine her looking at a script taped to a cubicle wall. You're welcome to appeal once the process is complete, she says. Appeal what I snap. You haven't shown me anything. Her tone tightens. Sir, I'm going to note that you were informed of the temporary restriction, and I'm noting you won't tell me why I fire back. Send the easement language. She doesn't respond. Send it, I repeat. The line goes dead. I stare at my phone, waiting for the call to reconnect. It doesn't. I set the phone down carefully, like it might break if I don't. Temporary, I think again. Temporary is what people say when they don't want to admit they're testing how far they can go. I grab the letter and head outside. The evening air is cooler now, the sun dropping behind the clubhouse roof. The community bulletin board stands near the mailbox cluster, glass-fronted and crowded with flyers about yoga classes and trash pickup. There it is. A fresh HOA notice pinned dead center. Temporary access restriction for community safety. No map. No citation. Just the same words, bigger this time. A couple walks past me, slowing just enough to read it. The man squints. That your route? He asks low. Yeah. He winces. That's rough. Apparently it's temporary. He snorts, then checks himself. Good luck. They move on. I stand there longer than I should, staring at the notice like it might change if I look hard enough. This isn't confusion. It's strategy. Back inside, I spread the letter and my rolled survey on the table. Old paper beside new paper. Ink beside toner. One earned. One assumed. I unlock my phone and open my email. There it is, a message from the HOA sent 10 minutes earlier. For transparency, please note the association is acting in the interest of community safety. That's it. No attachment. Community safety, I say aloud, and the words taste cheap. I type a reply, delete it, type again. Please provide the easement language authorizing this restriction. I hit send. Nothing comes back. I sit at the table, the house quiet again, and feel something shift from disbelief to heat. Not shouting heat, focused heat, the kind that comes when you realize you're not dealing with a mistake. You're dealing with a decision. I scroll my contacts until I find the name my father once circled on a yellow pad. Mackenzie Reeves, Ag Law. I hover my thumb for a second. Fight or fold? I tap the number and lift the phone to my ear as it starts to ring. Mackenzie Reeves doesn't waste words. She wastes daylight even less. Her office sits in a low brick building off the county square, wedged between a feed store and a barber shop with a spinning pole that looks older than the HOA bylaws. The sign on her door is plain Reeves Law, Agriculture and Land. No glossy logo, no slogan. Inside, the air smells like old paper and coffee that's been reheated too many times. A desk lamp casts a warm circle over a scarred wooden table, the kind of surface that's held more than one family's future. She meets me at the doorway, with sleeves rolled up and reading glasses already on. "You're the one with the fence," she says. "Yeah." She steps back to let me in. "Bring what you have." I set my survey tube on the table like it's fragile, even though it has survived glove boxes and rainstorms and years of being just in case. Mackenzie watches my hands, not my face, the way a good mechanic watches an engine being opened. I uncap the tube and slide out the paper. It unfurls with a soft crackle, the creases familiar. I flatten it under the lamp. Mackenzie leans in close enough that her shadow falls over the lines. She doesn't touch the paper yet. She reads it like it might bite. "Where'd you get this, my dad?" I swallow. He kept it like it was important. "It is," she says, and then she reaches into a drawer and pulls out a stamp. Metal, heavy, the kind that makes a sound you can feel. She stamps a blank index card, once hard, like she's waking the room up. Thunk. The ink reads, "Filed." I blink. "What's that for?" She slides the card toward me. "So you remember the difference between a story and a record." Then she finally presses 2 fingers to the survey and traces a line with a slow, deliberate motion. "See this line?" she asks. My throat tightens. "That's the easement." She nods once. "That's the easement." Her finger moves again, not far. A slight jog in the line where the root angles behind what's now a row of new fences. And that, she says, tapping lightly, is where the HOA overstepped. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. They told me it's outdated. Mackenzie gives a small, dry sound that isn't quite a laugh. Outdated is a kitchen remodel. A recorded easement doesn't expire because someone printed a newer map. She flips the survey to look at the corner notes, the signature block, the surveyor's seal. Her eyes stop on a line of text. "Perpetual access," she reads aloud, slow. She looks up at me over the top of her glasses. "That's not decorative language." "What does it mean for me?" I ask. "It means," she says, "the association can't treat your inherited root like a suggestion." I feel something loosen in my chest, hope cautious and sharp. "So they can't block it." "They can try," she replies. "That's what they're doing." She stands, crosses the room, and pulls a thick binder off a shelf. The spine is labeled HOA Disputes in handwriting that looks like it's had practice being irritated. She returns, opens it, and slides a sheet across the table. Did they cite anything, she asks. No, just community safety. Mackenzie's mouth tightens. That's a slogan, not a basis. She looks at the survey again, then at me. You said it's inherited. My father left it to me with the property. He told me never to let anyone redraw it. I pause. He also said the HOA would try. Mackenzie nods like that makes perfect sense. They always do. They can't resist a line they didn't draw. She taps the filed card. Do you have the county recording number? Not on me, I admit. The survey's got markings, but... Then we get it, she says, already reaching for her phone. Because if the recorded filing matches this, they're not reviewing anything. They're testing you. A printer hums in the back room. She pauses, listening, then looks back at me. Here's the thing, she says. I don't need to win a shouting match. I need to win a paper match. And the moment we can show a recorded line, the HOA's temporary turns into embarrassing. I lean forward. How fast can we do that? As fast as the county clerk works, she says, then adds, and as slow as we need to keep you from doing something reactive. I bristle. Reactive. Like cutting the lock yourself, she says, calm as rain, or yelling at the board in the parking lot. I've seen it. They want you to look like the risk. I glance at the survey. They already called me one. Mackenzie's eyes sharpen. They put that in writing. Not yet, I say. But I'm sure it's coming. She nods once. Good, because written is traceable. She slides a yellow legal pad toward me and clicks a pen. Tell me what happened from the first moment you saw the fence, I tell her. The fog, the padlock, the rep with the clipboard, the way he said procedure like it was holy. Mackenzie listens without interrupting, only moving her pen when something matters. When I finish, she sets the pen down and folds her hands. You're on the right side of this, she says. But right isn't enough. We're going to be precise. Precise how recorded facts, she says. Time, dates, copies. Every interaction goes through me. I nod, feeling the shape of a plan forming. And if they keep it blocked... Her eyes don't blink. Then we make them explain it in a room full of people who can read. I hesitate. They won't let me in the room. Mackenzie's expression turns faintly amused. Everyone gets in eventually when the record shows up. I start to smile, then stop myself. What's my next step? She points at the survey. We verify the filing. Then we send a formal request. Not an argument. A request, with the recorded number. Then we wait. Wait. I hate the word. Mackenzie seems to read it on my face. Not passive waiting, she says. Strategic waiting. They'll answer, or they'll dodge. Either way, it tells us what they're afraid of. I swallow. And if this goes public, she leans in and lowers her voice like she's letting me in on a truth she's watched play out too many times. If this goes public, she says, the board loses control. My heart thumps once hard, because they'll have to admit it's not about safety. Exactly. She straightens. It's about power, and power doesn't like being asked to show its receipt. My phone vibrates on the table. A new email notification. The sender name is the HOA. Mackenzie's eyes flick to the screen. There it is, she says softly. I open it. The subject line makes my stomach drop. Community Safety Notice Resident Advisory, and in the first sentence, my name is right there framed like a warning sign. The email hits every inbox at once. I know because my phone vibrates, then vibrates again, then doesn't stop. By the time I open it, 3 neighbors have already replied all. The subject line is loud, careful, and unmistakably official. Community Safety Update Access Route under review. My name appears in the second paragraph. Not accused outright, just framed. Language like potential risk, ongoing evaluation, temporary measures in place. The route I inherited is no longer a line on a map. It's a problem they're managing. I read it twice in the driveway, the late afternoon sun slanting off parked cars. A man 2 houses down waves, hesitates, then lowers his hand like he caught himself doing something wrong. "Did you see the email?" a woman asks from across the lot. She doesn't come closer. "Yeah," I say. "I saw it." She nods, lips pressed thin. "Sounds serious." "It's not," I reply. "It's incomplete." She doesn't argue. She just looks past me toward the clubhouse, then back to her phone. By the time I reach the community board, the paper copy is already posted behind the glass. Same wording, same careful distance. A couple of residents stand on opposite sides, not quite facing each other. "This is what happens," one of them mutters, not looking at me. "Someone pushes too hard." "I didn't push anything," I say. He shrugs. Still. I step closer to the board and tap the notice with my finger. "This is about a recorded easement." A different voice answers sharper. "The HOA wouldn't block it without a reason." I turn. A board member stands near the clubhouse door, keys in hand. Not angry. Just finished. I'm asking for the reason, I say. "You've been informed," she replies, "by an email that says nothing." She checks her watch. The board is handling it. "Then let me attend the meeting," I say. "I want to hear it." Her expression doesn't change. "You're not invited." I blink. "It's about my property." "It's about community safety," she corrects. "That route predates the community," I say. "It's inherited." She opens the door. "This isn't the time." Then when I ask, the door starts to close. "After review," she says, and the latch clicks. For a second, I just stand there staring at the seam where the door meets the frame. Inside, voices rise and fall, muffled. A laugh. Someone claps. In the parking lot, people have arranged themselves into quiet clusters. 2 men talk low near a pickup. A couple stands apart, whispering. Others pretend to scroll their phones, angled just enough to see me without looking at me. I walk past them anyway. "Hey," someone says quick. "I don't want trouble." "I'm not asking you for anything," I reply. Another voice follows me. "If the HOA says it's a risk, they haven't shown a thing." I cut in. A pause, then softer. "They usually know what they're doing." I stop and turn. "Do they?" No one answers. Back at my truck, I sit with the door open and pull the survey tube out again. I don't open it. I just rest it across my knees, feeling the paper shift inside. This is how it works, I realize. Not one person, not one decision. A system that moves together, speaks together, closes ranks without raising its voice. It isn't personal. That's what makes it harder. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. "You should let this go," I type back before thinking. Why 3 dots appear, disappear. Nothing comes. I lean my head against the seat and stare at the steering wheel. The route my father walked feels farther away than it did this morning, even though it hasn't moved an inch. The line is still there. The paper still exists, but the space around it has changed. I didn't lose anything today. But I didn't gain ground either. The phone rings. I straighten when I see the name. Hey, I answer. I found it, Mackenzie says, and there's no preamble, no caution, just certainty. Found what I ask. The original filing number, she says. County records. Clean as it gets. I close my eyes. What does that mean, I ask. It means she says they can't pretend anymore. I look at the clubhouse door, at the notice on the board, at the people who won't meet my eyes. Good, I say quietly, because I'm done pretending too. The copy lands on the counter with a flat, final sound. The clerk presses the stamp once hard enough that the vibration travels up my arm. Received. The ink is still wet when she slides the page back to me. At the top, clear as day, sits the filing number, county recorded, dated decades before the HOA ever printed its first flyer. I stare at it longer than I need to. Make another copy, the clerk asks. Yes, I say. 2. She nods, already turning back to the machine. Outside the post office, the air smells like dust and hot asphalt. I lean against the brick wall and read the number again, tracing it with my thumb, like it might disappear if I don't keep contact. My phone rings. That's the sound I like, Mackenzie says when I answer. Ink still warm, still drying. Good, she replies. They don't fear anger. They fear records. I fold the copies carefully and slide them into a manila folder. What's next, we compare, she says. Meet me at the diner in 10. The diner hasn't changed since my father used to stop there on feed runs. Vinyl booths. Coffee that tastes like it's been thinking about retirement. The bell over the door jingles when I step inside. Mackenzie is already there, spreading papers across the table like a card dealer who knows the deck is stacked. She looks up. You get it. I slide the folder across. She opens it, checks the number, and smiles without showing teeth. There it is, she says. Clean. A man 2 booths over clears his throat and stands. He's tall, gray-haired, with hands that look like they've built more than they've broken. Mind if I sit? He asks. Mackenzie nods. Vernon Wright. He chuckles. Guilty. Vernon pulls out a chair and sits. I used to draft infrastructure plans for counties, he says to me. Retired now, but lines don't forget me. I glance at Mackenzie. You told him I asked him to look, she says. He did more than look. Vernon reaches into his jacket and lays a folded map on the table. It's glossy. New. HOA branding in the corner. This is what they're circulating internally, he says. Route map. Updated last year. Mackenzie places my survey beside it. The difference is immediate. They shifted it, I say. Rerouted. Vernon corrects. They nudged the access line just enough to claim it runs through common space now. Makes it manageable. Manageable by who I ask. The board, he says. On paper. Mackenzie taps the old survey. But this, she says, was recorded before any of that. Vernon nods. That's the problem. Their version only works if yours doesn't exist. I feel something settle into place. Not relief. Alignment. So what happens when both are seen together, I ask. Mackenzie leans back. That depends on the room. We finish our coffee without tasting it. Outside, the sun has shifted. Time feels sharper, now edged. Back at Mackenzie's office, she lays the surveys side by side under the lamp. Old ink, new gloss, truth and convenience staring at each other. She circles the filing number with a pen. This is the connector, she says. This is what ties your root to the record. And cuts theirs loose, Vernon adds. Mackenzie looks up. Not yet. She flips through her notes, then points at the HOA version. See this segment, the reroute. It only works if they can pretend your easement is flexible. Which it's not, I say. Exactly, she replies. But here's the part they won't expect. She pauses, then looks me straight in the eye. This filing doesn't just open your route, she says. It questions every shortcut they took after. I blink. Meaning if your line is fixed, she says their adjustments aren't. Vernon lets out a low whistle. That's a lot. It's precise, Mackenzie says. And that's better. She gathers the papers into a clean stack. We don't argue. We present. We request time on the agenda. We bring copies. We let them talk. And if they refuse, I ask. She slides the folder back to me. Then refusal becomes the story. Outside, the community bulletin board catches my eye as we step into the evening. A small crowd has gathered. A fresh notice sits under the glass, pinned straight. Special HOA meeting emergency session, no explanation. Just a date. Soon. Vernon reads it and shakes his head. Looks like you got their attention. Mackenzie smiles thin and satisfied. Good. I stand there with the folder under my arm, the filing number secure inside, and watch people read the notice with the same careful expressions they wore yesterday. Receipts beat opinions, and for the first time since the fence went up, I don't feel blocked. The community center fills faster than I expect. Folding chairs scrape the floor. Voices overlap. Someone laughs too loudly near the back, like noise might settle nerves. I take a seat halfway down the aisle, manila folder under my arm, and watch the HOA board line up behind the long table at the front of the room. A projector sits on a cart beside them. It clicks on. That sound, plastic and fan and light, cuts through the chatter sharper than a gavel. Let's bring this meeting to order, the board chair says, tapping the microphone. This is an emergency session regarding access concerns and community safety. Community safety again. I feel the words press against my ribs. Will follow procedure, another board member adds. Public comment will be limited. Limited. The word lands like a warning. Mackenzie sits beside me, calm hands folded, eyes already on the screen. She doesn't look at the board. She looks past them. The chair clears her throat. As you know, a temporary restriction was placed on an access route, pending review. That route is recorded. Someone says from the crowd. Please, the chair responds tight. We're speaking. I raise my hand. It stays raised longer than it should. Yes, the chair says finally. I'm here regarding my easement, I say. Inherited. Recorded. She nods without warmth. Your concerns are noted. Mackenzie leans forward. We're not here to raise concerns, she says evenly. We're here to present a record. A murmur ripples through the room. The chair stiffens. Are you Council Hiss? Mackenzie replies. Agricultural and land use. Silence. Then proceed. Mackenzie stands and wheels the projector cart a few inches closer. The screen brightens. A map appears, clean lines, black ink age, evident even from the back row. That someone whispers looks old. Mackenzie doesn't rush. This is the original easement survey, she says. Recorded with the county. She clicks. A number fills the bottom corner of the screen. The filing number. I hear a chair creak somewhere behind me. A cough. The room leans in without moving. This route, Mackenzie continues pointing with a pen, was established decades before the association existed. That's outdated, a board member says quickly. Mackenzie turns her head. Outdated records don't carry filing numbers. The room goes still. The board chair leans toward the microphone. We have our own map. Mackenzie nods. You do. She clicks again. The HOA version appears beside the original. Side by side, the difference is unmistakable. Whispers swell. You moved it, a man says from the left. That's not what I walk, another voice adds. The chair raises a hand. Please. Procedure. Mackenzie doesn't look at her. She looks at the screen. Your map reroutes the easement, she says, just enough to place it under association control. That was for safety, the chair insists. Mackenzie finally faces them. Safety doesn't rewrite recorded lines. A pause stretches. I feel every eye flick toward me, then back to the board, then to the screen again. Mackenzie steps closer to the projector. Here's the problem, she says, her voice steady. If you enforce this survey, she gestures to the original, you don't just unblock his easement, she lets the room breathe. You lock every reroute the HOA approved. The words land heavy. Someone lets out a low whistle. Another chair scrapes back an inch. What does that mean? A resident asks. It means, Mackenzie answers, the association can't selectively honor records. If this filing governs his route, it governs all of them. The board members exchange looks. No one smiles now. That's not what this meeting is about, the chair says. It is, Mackenzie replies. Because you can't manage what you don't own. A man near the aisle stands. So you blocked him to protect yourselves. The chair's microphone squeals softly as she shifts. We acted responsibly. By not inviting him, a woman calls out. I stay seated. I don't need to speak anymore. The paper is doing it for me. Mackenzie clicks once more. The filing date enlarges. Old. Undeniable. This record exists whether you acknowledge it or not, she says. And once it's acknowledged, your alternatives disappear. The board chair opens her mouth, closes it, then looks down at her notes like they've betrayed her. The room holds its breath. No one applauds. No one argues. The silence isn't awkward. It's final. I glance at the folder in my lap, then back at the screen. The route my father walked hasn't moved an inch, but the room has. And for the first time, the HOA has nowhere left to step. No one claps for the board. That's how I know something has shifted. The room is still full, but the air has changed. People sit back in their chairs instead of leaning forward. Pens stop scratching. Phones lower. The HOA table looks smaller than it did an hour ago, like the light above it has dimmed without anyone touching a switch. The chair clears her throat. We'll take a brief recess. No one moves. A man near the back says, Why? She pauses. The microphone hums faintly, so the board can confer. Mackenzie doesn't stand. She doesn't object. She just folds her hands again and waits. I wait too. The board members lean toward each other, whispering. Their shoulders hunch. Their eyes keep drifting to the screen where the filing number still glows like it's burned into the wall. After a minute, the chair straightens. This meeting will resume. She looks different now. Less certain. Less practiced. We acknowledge, she says slowly, that the easement presented is valid. A low murmur rolls through the room, and she continues that the temporary restriction was applied pending review. Pending what someone asks. The chair exhales, pending clarification. Mackenzie speaks without standing. Clarification has been provided. The chair nods once. Yes. She flips a page on the clipboard in front of her. The sound is sharp in the quiet. Effective immediately, she says the restriction is suspended. A woman near the aisle lets out a breath she's been holding. Someone else mutters about time. The chair presses on. Additionally, the board recognizes that any alternative routing approved under the association's map must be frozen until further review. The word frozen hangs there. You mean closed, a man says. The chair's jaw tightens, paused. Mackenzie lifts her eyes, indefinitely. Another pause, then quieter, yes. I feel it then, not triumph, not relief, but something steadier, like a knot finally loosening after years of being pulled tight. A board member clears his throat. We'll need to amend the minutes. You'll need to reflect the record, Mackenzie says. The room shifts again, this time towards something like unity. Heads nod. A few people exchange looks that say they'll remember this night. A resident stands, older, denim jacket, weathered hands. I've lived here since before the clubhouse, he says. That route was always there. The chair nods, eyes down. Noted. Another voice, softer but firm. So the fence. The chair looks up. It will be removed. When someone asks, tomorrow morning, she says, maintenance has already been notified. That's when it happens. A woman near the middle row speaks, not loud, not dramatic, just clear. Finally, someone fought back. The words ripple through the room like a signal. A few people nod, someone murmurs agreement. No cheers, no applause, just recognition. I don't look at Mackenzie. I don't look at the board. I look at the floor, at the scuffed tile where boots and sneakers have worn the same path for years. I imagine the route beyond the walls, quiet and waiting. The chair taps the microphone again. The board will enter these actions into the official record. She glances at me for the first time all night. You'll receive written confirmation. I already have it, I say, tapping the folder under my arm. She nods once, like she understands now that paper doesn't argue. It remembers. People begin to stand, not all at once. Conversations restart low and cautious, like voices in a church after a long service. Vernon catches my eye and gives a small nod. Nothing more. Mackenzie leans toward me. This part matters, she says quietly. The minutes. I know, I reply. The board members file out one by one, no longer surrounded by chatter. The projector clicks off. The screen goes blank. As the room empties, I stay seated a moment longer. I listen to the sounds, the scrape of chairs, the hum of the lights, the soft echo of footsteps fading down the hall. Tomorrow morning a fence comes down. Not because anyone shouted, not because anyone folded, because a line was drawn long before any of us sat in this room, and tonight it was finally allowed to speak. Dawn comes in soft and gray, the way it always does here. The fence looks smaller in the morning light. I rest my hand on the cold metal latch, feeling the chill seep into my palm. For a moment, I don't open it. I just stand there listening to the quiet birds waking up, a truck passing somewhere beyond the trees, the slow breath of a neighborhood that doesn't know it's changed yet. Then I turn the key. The lock clicks open. The gate swings back without resistance, as if it's been waiting. I step through and walk the route my father walked, the path worn thin by years of boots and weather and habit. Dew darkens the cuffs of my jeans. The ground smells clean like it does after a long night of thinking. Halfway down, I spot the new notice posted to the fence post. Fresh paper, black ink. Restriction lifted. I read it twice, then once more just to be sure. Behind me, someone clears their throat. I turn to see Vernon standing a few yards back, hands in his pockets, giving me space. "Morning," he says. "Morning." "They started early," he adds, nodding toward the removed panels stacked neatly by the maintenance truck. "Didn't argue much." I smile just a little. They didn't have much left to say. He steps closer, reading the notice. "Funny thing," he says. "Same paperwork that blocked you. Took away their shortcuts, too." Funny, I agree. Another neighbor walks by with a dog, pauses and looks at the open gate. "So it's back?" she asks. "It never left," I say. "It was just ignored." She nods like that makes sense, then continues on her way. Later that morning, a copy of the revised HOA charter appears on the bulletin board near the mailboxes. Clear language, limits spelled out. No creative rerouting. No temporary powers without dates attached. Someone has underlined a sentence in blue pen: easements shall not be altered without unanimous consent. I don't touch it. I don't need to. At home, I lay the survey out one last time on the kitchen table. The paper is older than I am. The lines are steady, confident. My father's handwriting sits in the margin where he once added a note for me. I fold it carefully and place it back into the wooden box my mother kept family documents in. Deeds, birth certificates, things that outlast arguments. The lid closes with a soft thud. In the afternoon, I walk the route again, this time with company. A couple of neighbors nod as they pass. No speeches, no apologies, just movement. At the far end of the path where the HOA once planned to bend it to their convenience, the ground remains untouched. No markers, no stakes, just grass returning to its own shape. I think about the meeting, about the silence, about how quickly power shrinks when it's measured against a record. The same survey that opened my route permanently locked theirs. Not with force, not with noise, with ink. As the sun lowers, I head back slower now. The gate stays open behind me. No one rushes to close it. Vernon's voice carries from down the path. "You did good," he says. "I didn't do it alone." He smiles. "You didn't do it loud either." That matters to me more than I expected. By evening, the route feels normal again. That's the real victory. Not the meeting, not the notice. Normal. Before heading inside, I stop once more at the gate and look back over the path, the fence line, the houses beyond it. I think about the board, about whoever sits there next, about the quiet pressure that comes with being watched. Power doesn't mean you're right. It means you'll be watched. I leave the gate open and walk home, the sound of my steps fading into a place that finally remembers where it's supposed to lead. I stood by the open gate as the posted order fluttered once, then settled, the county seal catching the morning light. Inside the clubhouse, the decision had been read into the record, and outside, neighbors paused, not to cheer, but to witness. The survey went back into its box, restored to what it had always been: proof. Finally, someone fought back. Not with noise, but with documents that held. Justice isn't loud, it's steady. And when power is forced to follow the record, a community doesn't just correct itself, it heals one reopened route at a time.